15 years ago, none of this existed. It was waste ground and a big hole in the ground called Titanic's Dock, which was a big liability. Today there are 6 buildings, 250,000 square foot, 120 technology and science companies located here. One of the world's top research institutions, which is Queen's University's Centre for Electronics and IT and Cybersecurity, and 2,200 people working here. This place has been full for the last 4 years. We can't put the buildings up quick enough. The demand to get in here is that good. The other thing that has really changed in the last few years is just the development of a really strong science and technology community in Northern Ireland, and that's another thing that we run from here called NISP Connect. And we had 467 different early stage ventures and entrepreneurs, as we call them, just engage in our programs last year. We have 28 of the most experienced, in many cases people who've sold companies for hundreds of millions, this pool of mentors who help this pool of emerging scientists and innovators and entrepreneurs. And what's developed really quickly in Belfast and Northern Ireland is just this very supportive community. You'll hear it called an ecosystem, but it's working really quickly.
I think in the past 15 years Belfast has become a wonderful city. It's still quite edgy, it's very vibrant, it's full of all different people that we've never ever come across before. Since the launch of Titanic, I think it's really changed. We've seen Russians, Germans, Swedish, all different walks of life, and it's really good to be part of a vibrant city once again. And the food's changed, the culture, our own culture has changed. I think our journey has changed in general, and long may it go on.
Well, I suppose there's a whole range of things that have changed since 1998. One would be, for example, here Queen's internationalisation and the whole drive to bring students in from outside, and the fact that Northern Ireland's seen as a place to come to, it's seen as a secure place. It's also seen as an exciting place to come to in terms of its post-conflict background, and that's a positive in itself, in that it changes the sort of monocultural nature of the university, brings in creativity, it brings in ideas. We've also seen in Queen's that development of all those sort of spin-out companies, the use of technology within universities, how that is embedded now within the university, and how that is slowly embedding itself within the wider economy. More broadly, of course, we have seen, I think, 2 processes, but in a positive sense. For example, we've seen a significant growth in mixed marriages over the last few years, probably a significant growth in mixed relationships as well. We have an immigrant population that have come here, that have brought a variety of cultures to the city and to Northern Ireland. That's an interesting point about how identity is changing, and more broadly, with regard to Orange and Green identity, if we look at the Life and Times survey results, we see a decline in people who identify themselves as British and Irish, the growth in this sort of sense of Northern Irishness, which is, I suppose, less culturally offensive in some ways, and that it's a hybrid culture, it's a sense of that. And I suppose one of the things interesting talking to students here is very few of them, unlike ourselves, are tied to the past or think about the past as something which is an anchor to them personally. They see a need to mix, they see a need to integrate, they see a need to broaden the relationships and the basis that they have. So in that sense, I think we're living in a very different society. I think it's very fluid. I think identity is changing very rapidly. I think new technologies, I think what we understand as community is changing rapidly. And of course, I think that is difficult in the sense that we maybe have a new division in society, not just Orange and Green. I think we have a new division which is maybe sort of cosmopolitan and conservative. And I think that's been expressed recently, around issues of abortion, gay rights, etc. And it's a sort of, there's a cosmopolitan flavour to society, of course, amongst those who have benefited most out of the changes that have taken place. But that itself will continue, that process won't be stopped. And it's interesting, that those cultural processes and social forces aren't really tied to politics. It's tied to the fact we live in a global internationalising world.